Hi, I'm Kurt from Kurt's Auto on the Ripping Burnouts YouTube channel. This is going to be, I guess, part 3 of my 1940 Mercury Will It Run. I had it running, took it to a car show. As you can see, it's in a car trailer to get back home. Made one mistake, well, couple. One is you don't want to drive a car with tires that are older than you on it. These tires are at least from the 70s, early 70s is my guess, and they drove like they were square. The front end was shaking super bad. I had never came up with a battery hold down, and I shook the battery terminal off. I think when that happened, I haven't really done anything except for know that it still doesn't start. But I think what happened was the generator not having a battery to supply voltage to spiked the voltage and fried the coil, because not only did it not crank when it quit running, like I had no spark once I hooked the battery back up. Pretty sure the coil's fried. Maybe it's the points. I don't know. We're gonna dig into it and see what I can find out, and we're gonna get this car running again because I have way too much time invested to have it sitting in a garage not running, or car trailer for that matter. So let me grab some tools. We're gonna see what we can find. All right, so the first thing we're gonna do is turn on the ignition and make sure I have power at the coil. So we should have 6 volts here. And I got a dim light there. Pretty positive I don't have spark. I think what I'm gonna do is pull the coil off of there, make sure I'm getting a ground through the points, because I can access the negative side of the coil, which actually technically is the positive side because this is a reverse ground. And I should be able to make sure that the points are making a contact, in which case I can kind of condemn the coil. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and get this coil dismounted here so you can do some testing. I want to make sure I got the key off so I don't fry this resistor or any of the wiring, because that would suck. I guess I can test right here. Yeah, I got it on. Duh. Okay, I gotta turn the key off. Yeah, I kind of started looking at that and I'm like, well, that might short out. Anyway, make sure you turn the key off. You should actually probably disconnect your battery anytime you're working with electrical stuff. You can see that the condenser is actually bolted. Ooh, I dropped a bolt in my hand. That was a good catch. I just caught that in my hand like that. This style coil that I have as a replacement that I hope works has the condenser bolted off of one of the flathead screws rather than being bolted to the block. So I'm hoping that if this fried because I lost battery connection, this one that I took off my 1940 Ford works. We'll find out here in a minute. Or maybe I just have fried points. I really don't know yet. So we're gonna try and diagnose it. And I just don't wanna tighten this bolt up so I don't forget it, because otherwise it pumps oil out. And I do not want oil all over my new trailer. Now what I wanna do is be able to see if the points are actually closing and making contact. So I'm gonna switch my test light to the negative side because it's a positive ground, and going on the point connection here, I'm going to rotate the engine over and make sure that I see it close, which it's not. Let me just double check the block. Something might be going on with my light here. Okay, I got a light at the block. So on this point right here, now look at that. I just got a faint one right there. When I reach down inside and touch the point, Might be my ignition point screwed up. that coil might not be bad. It might just be my points quit working, which I never had the distributor perfect anyway, but I am getting a faint light that after I touched it, before I wasn't getting anything, and I reached in and I pushed it with my finger. I am going to guess that it's actually in the distributor and not the coil. And so the battery falling off at that particular moment may have nothing to do with it. I don't know. Might have had two problems. Maybe the points quit after driving that long, and the battery falling off because I was going down a hill. I don't really know if I lost power before the battery fell off or after. All I know is I was rolling down the hill. It's a long hill. We call it Mile Hill because it's about a mile long. Front end was shaking pretty good, and I tried stepping on the gas a couple times, and I could tell the engine wasn't running. And we got down to the bottom of the hill, and it wouldn't crank. It wouldn't do anything. I pulled into a neighbor's driveway, or well, a driveway down there. Yeah, then we towed it to the car show with my Kia, hoping that when we got there it would start. And that never happened. Definitely not the plan we had here with the tow strap. So I picked it back up with the trailer, and here we are. But looking at this, when I first tested, I wasn't getting any contact. I touched something down in here, and all of a sudden the light turned on, and now it's not turning off. And I should be able to open those points, and I'm not able to. So I'm pretty sure my distributor is my problem. I'm gonna grab a light and see what I can see down in there real quick. All right, well, I found my culprit. Let me see if I can get you in here. So what left me stranded is, you can see this is one point right here. You can see me kind of opening it, and that rides on the cam. Down here, this one is broken. It's not doing a thing. So the point is actually, I believe, staying closed, which is why my light is on continuous here. So this here is the problem and why it quit running. So I'm gonna have to pull the distributor off. It wasn't quite right anyway. You can see where the timing was at as opposed to the relationship of the distributor. I had it pushed all the way. Ooh, make a noise. I had to push it all the way one way to keep it running. So I knew I had to pull it back apart again. But 100% that point broke, and that is my problem. So I'm gonna go ahead and get the distributor yanked off of here, and we'll put it on the bench and see if I can figure out how to make this antique technology work again. So it is quite a trick to time it on the bench, and that's something that I forgot about when I sanded the points just to get it to run, and run it did. I made it. I never actually did see how many miles that was, but it was a few miles. It drove down the road. Again, don't ever recommend doing that with a car that you know the tires are over 45 years old on. That's just not smart. Distributor caps themselves are made out of like a fibrous plastic, but what happens to them over time, what I read, because I can't get them apart, is that the fiber starts to swell up, and so pretty much if they're stuck, you're gonna break them trying to get the distributor caps off. So for me to do this, I'm gonna have to attempt it without taking the caps off and do everything through the hole for the coil, which I should be able to achieve. Yeah, I found out that's how they did it. They got this little block that's offset. It sits right in the front of the camshaft, so if you don't put that back in, it isn't gonna run. I'm gonna lose that, ain't I? I put it on top of the air filter if I have to check the footage to remember that. Depending on when I actually do go through and rebuild this distributor, because I think I'm gonna order some parts. Or at least have to find the parts that I think I have to fix it. If that makes sense. Yeah, I'd like this car to be just a survivor as is, with this little amount done to it. Just to say, I pulled it out of the barn this way. got it running. And that's where we're at. So, all right, so I got the distributor out. Like I said, my wires and my caps are stuck and I can't get them off. And I don't want to break the caps because keeping it original and don't want to spend any extra money. So what I'm going to do instead to replace this is I'm going to pull the timing tab bolt out of the side, because this is how you actually time the distributor, is you rotate the insides rather than rotating the distributor housing. I think I have to pull the brake. No, I think it'll stay there. No, I do have to pull that nut loose. I'm just gonna take it out the easy way. There's a piston on a spring. This stops the rotation of the centrifugal weights and backs the timing down. So when you let off the gas, well, I'm sorry, when you create high vacuum, this piston gets pulled back away from it and increases timing. When you smash the gas and lose that vacuum, this piston gets pushed into it with a spring and backs the timing back off. Pretty simplistic way to think of it. And if I'm wrong, that's how I think it works. I don't actually know. Next, if I remember correctly, I kind of pried this out in one piece. I had it apart a couple months ago when I sanded the points down. Oop. Something moved. Can't remember exactly how I got that apart. Get a hammer to tap on it. Probably a little tapping. On the housing only. Is it moving? Doesn't look like it. I know I had it apart. What am I doing wrong here? Oh wait, no, it's moving out, I think. Yeah, it's already moving. I can see. Like, I just gotta pry more down here. Yeah, there it goes. I'm prying the rotor against like the... I'll show you when I get it out. I was putting the screwdriver in between the rotor right here and giving it a little twist to get it to pop out of there. But what happened here is you can actually see the point. It's totally broken and like melted into the contact there. So that's what happened. The arm actually broke off. And that's why I quit running. So I'm gonna get this pulled off of here. There's a chunk of it right there. Hopefully that's all that's wrong with it and it starts back up. But the brake piston pushes against this wheel like so, and it's pulled back when there's vacuum, and when there's no vacuum it's applied, and it slows the distributor down and changes the timing for the centrifugal advance that's back in here. So for what we need, we're getting to these points. I'm gonna go ahead and get my rotor completely off. And now actually you can see the points really good. Make sure it's exactly there. Yeah. So that point, it's got dual points in it. This one looks correct still. This one you can see is just completely broken. What I did was I just took sandpaper, cleaned them up like that, put it back together, and made it run. But it was never timed 100% perfectly because you have to do that before you put the distributor together, and then you have final adjustments on the side. So I'm going to make sure I figure that out again. So I remember doing it on the 1948 that I put together once upon a time. So with the, oh yeah, because right here, this is your advance on the side. So the timing tab goes into the housing on the side, and this is the part it actually rotates. So you want to be, I think, in the middle, just like that, when you set the point gap. I'm going to look it up to make sure, but that way you have advance and retard timing both ways. And the only way I could get it to run before was all the way down. So let me get this taken apart, see if I have the correct points here. I think I do, but I'm going to find out right now. All right, well, here's a box I found that came with my parts car. I think that one might be used. Doesn't look great, but it does appear to be the right one. I got a whole bunch of them in here. Let's see what's all in this box. Okay, no, it's a pair. Oh, it's hard to tell if that's actually been used before or not. It does look like there's a little arc on it, but yeah, I think they were used, but not very long. It is the exact same set. So I'm going to look around and see if I have anything that looks better. Otherwise, I think we might just clean this one up and put the best out of the two arms in place of this broken one and see if we can't get my 1940s start again. All right, so I took the one that had the highest tension on the spring, and it looked like this one may not have been used and this one might have been. I'm not sure. The spring looks cleaner, drier, whatever. There's a tiny spot there, but I just want to make sure it runs. If I have to buy new points, I can. Let's just see if it fixes it, because these are the parts I have. Oh yeah, it totally fell apart here. So you can actually see where it was making contact there and how hot it got, and changed the color of it because it had broke. So you can see right here where the contact came down. It's supposed to touch like this. When it broke, it fell and it touched like that. And you can actually see the heat, how hot it got. It melted. So it may damage the coil. We'll determine that later, but definitely broke the point setup here. And now you can see we should have points opening and closing on both sides here. Just like that. Now, setting the point gap is going to be the trick, and I have to figure that out. And I think it has to do with the relationship of this thing pointing a certain exact way. The other one was marked off of a bolt hole, I believe, but I'm hoping I can set this one in my hand, because it's going to be really hard to do if I have to try and set the points with the distributor put together. So what I found out is, in order to set the timing on this, I need to take the wide side of the shaft and position it. I had to put the distributor housing back in, or the center back into the housing, because you're supposed to line it up centered off of that bolt. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark a relationship mark here, take it apart, using that as my reference, and then I'm going to set the points, put it back together, and we should be perfect. So I'm going to make sure I get this all lined up exactly how it's supposed to go, which I guess I might as well just stick it right to there. And then it should be right like that. I got to get a paint pen, and I'm going to mark exactly where it's at. With my paint pen, marked exactly where I want to be. I am going to make a mark there and a mark there, and then I know I'm on the high side of the shaft because if I can turn it, it's offset, so it was right. We'll rotate that back, get these points set. My car should run again. And now I got to find a feeler gauge, but then I'll be able to adjust these points on both sides, set it, put it back together, and we'll have spark. 14 to 16 is the spec. I'm using a 15 thousandths gauge, and I am going to attempt to set the points without using the special fixture that Ford wanted you to use, because I don't own one. A little drag. Lock it down here. We got 15 thousandths on that one. Yep, I got 15 there. I got 15 there. Look at that, I just learned. Doing it outside of the distributor is going to change my gap. I have to set these with the distributor in because this is moving and it's changing my gap on my distributor. So that's not fun. I'm gonna have to try and get one of the. I'm gonna have to get these caps out because yeah, with the shaft not being in there, it's not necessarily straight. In which case, it's gonna alter and change the gap on those points when I put it together. I'm gonna have to think on that one for a minute. Yeah, look at that. I can do it this way. It'll keep it straight. Okay, I'm gonna put it together and I'm gonna use this as my timing mark, but I'm gonna rotate the inside to where I can see the gap and get it set right, and that should keep the shaft straight. Even though I don't have it in exactly perfect, it should line it up a lot better than letting it float around loose. So I'm gonna see what I can come up with for this. I don't think I'll be able to show this very easy on the camera, but that's what I'm gonna do to try and get the points to set right. Hopefully this works. All right, well, to be able to do this properly, there's actually a machine that you put this thing in that's a holding fixture and that you can adjust all your stuff with. Doing it the ruler method and marking the thing isn't as exact. I got it as close as I can. I can't say it's perfect. I think it's good enough that we're gonna have spark again, so I can at least get the thing to run, and we'll have to just see where the adjustment is. I think I got it a lot closer than I did last time. Distributor snugged up here really quick, and then I'm gonna do a test to make sure that the points open and close. As long as they open and close, I should have spark again. As far as timing goes, I don't know if my ruler method worked. Although the last time I set the points, I totally just guessed, and it ran pretty good. So I think now that I actually tried, it should be a little closer. Again, last time it was more just sand them down, make it spark. Let's see if the engine runs. So with this, again, on the negative side, because we are positive ground and we have no light. We have light here, we got light here, we got no light on the points. If I rotate the engine, the point should close. And I have contact. Yeah, you should be able to see the light on there. And now as I rotate, those breaker points are gonna come open and the light's gonna turn off just like that. And then the engine's gonna come around and they're gonna turn on again, which is energizing that coil. And then they're gonna turn off, which is opening that coil, making a spark. We should have spark again as long as my coil's still good. So next step is gonna be I'm just gonna put the coil back on it and try it with the original coil, because it's the best way to test it is to see if it works. All right, well, with any luck, that's all it took. I have my coil back on, my distributor's all mounted, my oil line's on. We're gonna hit the button and see if it makes engine sounds, or what it does exactly. but I didn't pump it or anything, so let's just pump it a couple times and see what it does. Might have to have somebody else crank it for me or rig up a push button out there. Oh! Success! Look at that. Oh yeah. The flathead runs again. Wow, it runs better than it did too. I think it sounds even better than it did. That's awesome. So apparently that answers the question. I wondered why it didn't run, and I thought maybe have it, well, again, the battery came loose. That did happen. I thought that might have caused the coil to overcharge and burn up, because I didn't know they would be completely unrelated from each other. But I think it was just the point. I think the point just broke. At the same time, the battery fell off somewhere along the line. But that sounds really good. We're I'm totally happy with that. Gonna open up the other door on my trailer so it can breathe a little bit. But the 1940 Merc needs a set of tires, and we're ready for another test drive. Hopefully this one we can actually make it back home again.